Welcome to another episode of Unpacking the Brand. I'm Randy Kessler, joined as always by Ken Terrio. Ken, what's going on, bud?
Just I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Just living day by day here and trying to make the most of it. It's summer. Got kids things going on. Got a lot of things. We're having a blast. No complaints, but no time.
I feel you there. I'm helping coach both boys baseball teams, and I think I get one free night a week, maybe Sunday. But this past weekend, 5 games in 2 days, another game last night, another game tonight. So yeah, it's like a full-time job. So yeah. It's
I just remember when I was a kid, summers seemed a lot more fun. And they're not, they're still fun. I don't want to say they're not fun, but it's there's a lot going on. So
yeah,
but
feel like a bus driver or a chauffeur most of the time. But hey, that's
are they winning at least?
The teams are playing well. It's hard for them to manage emotions in a sport like baseball where there's more failure than success. But that's a whole separate topic and maybe a psychological conversation we could get into someday. But yeah,
for sure.
So today on this episode, we're going to bring on Paul Teachout. He's with Harper Corporation now, industry ambassador. Someone, Ken, you and I have known a long time.
Yeah, I'm really excited to for us to talk to him. He's just a wealth of information, and he's been in the industry his whole life. And he's when I first got in the industry, he was one of the most welcoming people that I had met. And I remember times of me just calling him and asking him questions, and he was always willing to answer. And so I think he's a great ambassador and just a great person overall.
Yeah, awesome dude. Known him for a while, very well connected. So let's go ahead and get to that conversation with Paul. I think the listeners will find this very exciting.
Definitely.
In a world where brands compete for attention, where innovation meets strategy, and where storytelling drives success, join Ken Terrio and Randy Kessler as they dive into the world of branding, business, and beyond.
Joining us on today's episode, Paul Teachout, Harper Corporation of America and Printing Industry Ambassador. How's it going today, Paul?
Everything is great, gentlemen. How about you guys? I'm enjoying the summer weather. I know that. So.
Well, Ken's in Florida. I can't speak for that. We just had a youth baseball tournament over the weekend, average temperature about 43 degrees. So that was, that was fun.
I try to avoid because it's always beautiful here and everyone else is always complaining. So I just stay quiet.
No, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. Actually, I live in South Carolina, and the weather here, obviously, we just came out of a beautiful spring. We just celebrated our PGA Championship last Sunday here in Charlotte, which was quite a wonderful experience. So, yeah, we're in full summer swing here, so we're enjoying it.
Did you go? Did you go to any of the days?
I had the opportunity to go Sunday and sit 2 rows back, green side off of 18. So it was a pretty good event.
Wow. Yeah, there are worse things to do on a Sunday. I'm sure we could talk about golf for ages, and we'll probably get to golf a little bit later. But let's just jump right into it. You've been in this industry a long time, Paul. Walk us through your career progression. How did you first get started? Share your background and kind of stops along the way. I know you could probably go 30 minutes on this alone, but Cliff Notes version.
It's been quite a journey, but it's been an extremely rewarding journey. First of all, kind of ink and printing is in my blood. I'm second generation. My son's third generation. My sister's graphic pre-press. This is just what the Teachouts do, I guess. But I started out right out of high school as an apprentice working with my father, who worked for Kodak Polychrome in Rochester, New York, as a commercial offset. So I actually started out in offset printing back in the early 80s, coming right out of high school. Yeah, I'm that old. So I would, out of school, go to work, and in the summers go to work, and just kind of led into that and started out in offset, working with my father. Who is obviously a great mentor for me. He's the one that got me into this crazy mess. But one of my father's great friends was the operations manager at Webtron. Webtron was a narrow web press manufacturer in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That's where I was raised and where I grew up. And he pulled me to the dark side of Flexo in 1985. I was 20 years old and started, going to the Flexo world, started building Flexo presses, and I was a mechanical, electrical technician, went right through all the phases of assembly and quality control with printing to them, and just learned the whole process right there from building them to running them, and got to learn and meet a lot of wonderful people. So spent about 24 years there at Webtron, which also included Aquaflex at the time, that was acquired along the way. So met some wonderful, and those were my formative years, right? From 20 to 35 or so, working with some exceptional engineers at the time. Webtron was one of the leaders in the global narrow web market space for press manufacturing. And then through acquisitions and whatnot, you guys all know how that goes, led me to spend some time at the Harper Corporation, which at that time, Mr. and Mrs. Harper were still viable in the company. Their daughter Margie was the president. Now Lee Harper is the third generation. So, and working with a press manufacturer all those years, Harper was one of our primary suppliers. So developed a great relationship with the Harper family over the years, which kind of made it an easy transition to join Harper at the time. And I was their technical account representative, not only, but also served the OEM market for Harper. So then I had the opportunity to follow some peers to Nilpeter for 6 years, Nilpeter USA. Had the opportunity to be vice president of sales and marketing for Nilpeter USA, which had 6 wonderful years there. I had a lot of success, and very fortunate to have that opportunity working with another global brand. And then, things kind of went in another direction and led me back here to Harper. Been here another, almost 3 years now again. So it's close to my house, 15 minutes. I have a flexible schedule that I can work with, and obviously the Harpers have provided nothing but good opportunity for myself and my family. So all that chalks up to about 45 years, with about 30 of it being in press manufacturing, and the other 15 with Harper and peripheral, and but supporting the same customer base, right? So developed some amazing relationships along the way. So that's kind of it, the Reader's Digest in 45 years of my journey.
That's a long story journey. It's excellent. I mean, it's one of the things that I think I've been in this space for just over a decade now. It's one of the things that's so attractive about it is that there's a lot of tenure in the space, and you build a lot of really great relationships. And I think that's part of what keeps people in the space, not just the technical knowledge that you build along the way that is valuable, but it's your friends. And it's, you don't want to go try something new when you're leaving your friends behind. So it's kind of creates some stickiness to it.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, what keeps me in this industry and what's always kept me in it is those relationships, right? And the passion that you develop for it. We've watched this explosion of our industry, especially in the last 30, 40 years, the proliferation of certain technologies and the packaging industry and the way it went. And, but so you have the opportunity to be exposed to so many wonderful people, suppliers, customers, printers, editorials, marketing, and it's such a wonderful community, and as big as it is, as personable as it is, and the relationships that you build over those years and the passion that you develop for being a solution provider and getting wins along the way and overcoming challenges, that really keeps you going, keeps you inspired, keeps you moving forward. And I've certainly had my share of opportunities to do that.
So following on that, you've been in the industry a long time, as you've indicated. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen along the way? I know you can go in a lot of different directions with this question, but maybe some things that really stand out for you.
I mean, that's a great question, because like I say, when I came into this industry in the early 80s, it was right when Flexo was taken off. I mean, it's emerged itself from a very rudimentary or elementary printing process, printing fragile labels, printing ketchup labels with rubber plates and chrome rollers and no doctor blades. Just, I hate to use the term, but that old rubber stamp printing. And now when you look at where we're at today, we're in a completely digitalized environment, full gearless automated presses. Digital photopolymer technology has gone through the roof from the old rubber plate days. For what we do here at Harper, laser engraved ceramic analox rolls versus old mechanically engraved knurled chrome rollers. I mean, it's gone leaps and bounds. If I was to take every step of that journey, it's consumed my 45 years. I mean, like I said, from a very elementary mechanically driven process to this fully automated servo gearless digitalized environment that we now live in. And I've been in that generation to go on that journey. I mean, if you can't enjoy that ride, you're on the wrong bus, because it was an amazing journey. And every year there was some amazing new innovation that was coming out that was pushing our industry and the packaging environment forward. And to be able to experience that in my time frame, and now getting to where I can see where my plans are in the future, it's been a journey that I wouldn't change. It's been amazing. So it's certainly, like I say, it's gone from a very rudimentary mechanically driven process to this fully digitalized, automated, automated process now. And it's amazing. It's been amazing to see the industry grow at this rate.
One of my memories of you is when I was managing OEM relationships at Flexo Concepts, and you had written an article when you're at Nilpeter about like clean hands technology or something. It was something along those lines, and I remember reaching out to you and be like, "What do you mean by that?" And you were so helpful. Like we had a nice conversation and talk about recruiting new people in there and how trying to get the younger generation. They didn't necessarily want to have this dirty process, and it kept them out. And you guys were putting a focus on providing kind of a perspective that it's more automated, it's more computer driven. And you're talking about riding that wave, but in a lot of ways you've been innovative in creating that wave as well.
Well, I mean, it's certainly been interesting because we're going through a generational shift. We're going through, in human resources, we're going through this transitional change from analog to digitalization. So the whole world is changing around us in people and resources and how we can move forward with our production processes. And, in those articles back then, it was when, the presses are much more sophisticated and evolved than they were in the past. There's not knobs anymore. There's touch screens. There's tablets. And that's what when we term the phrase clean hand technology is, we are now working with a generation, quite frankly, that grew up working with their thumbs. I grew up coming home with dirty hands, and smelling like litho ink, and that was it. That my house with my father, and that's the way it was, But the generation today has this huge opportunity in this digitalized environment to work with programs and processes that are refined and went from a craft to a science. Everything is documented in procedures. Everything is predictable and repeatable. It's automated. It's automated. And so this clean hand environment that we're now in is going to allow us to attract that workforce of the future. Because, there's still that old stigma of, production. That's a dirty job. I don't want to do that. But in today's environment, now there's Michigan State, there's Clemson, there's Cal Poly, there's so many more of these educational institutions now that teach what we do. That teach our, when I started out, I had my father, and I had my, and trust me, that was a good teacher. But there wasn't those opportunities then, and I never would have got the education that I got then, or that you could get now, and. So being able to share this digitalized environment now and this automated environment, and now going forward, the AI environment that we're in it already. If you're thinking about you're going to get in it, you're already too late. All right. So it's just wonderful to be able to sit with you guys, to be quite honest with you, Ken, because when we had those conversations, Randy, I mean, you guys to me are the younger guys. but I already feel like I've known you guys for years, and I think I have. And so it just shows that I'm getting older, and so are you guys. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm going on 20 years. Ken, what about you? Probably 15.
I think it was the end of 2012 that I got introduced and dove in.
So you guys are part of that generation, right? You guys are the ones that grew up with, with the Internet of Things and with, the ability to capture anything out of the sky, right? And it's a unique environment. And the faster things move, the faster they move, and that's going to continue to happen as we move through the AI journey. So, but like I said, it's a generational shift both in human resources and technology, and you got to be right on board and try to keep up.
I see the TLMI plaque behind you. I know that TLMI, FTA, they're near and dear to your heart. Talk about your involvement within those organizations and why it's so important to you.
Well, and I've been very blessed, to be quite honest with you guys. Number one, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to participate with the TLMI, the FTA, and some others without the support of the companies that I work for. Right? I mean, they provide me the opportunity to go out there and be a brand ambassador for the company that I work with. And being Harper, the family has always been highly ingrained in the association support at most all levels. And so it's a privilege to be able to support and provide that opportunity to promote the brand as an ambassador for the company you work with. They give you that opportunity to do that, not only to give back to the industry, but to carry the brand with you. The TLMI has been obviously in my narrow web side of the world. Tag and label has been very close and near and dear to my heart over the 40 years that I've been, in my career. But for the last 30, with it, being engaged with the TLMI, 30 years ago there were still a lot of entrepreneurs with the TLMI. We've seen a lot of M&A activity over the last decade that has changed the landscape of that a little bit. But there's still some exceptional and wonderful people out there that are still keeping things going, right, on the single rooftop level. But, they've provided opportunities to participate, engage, sit on committees. Obviously, the one that's closest to me is the Printing Excellence Awards. I've been on that committee since 1999. So this will be my 26th year participating in the judging process of the TLMI Printing Excellence Awards. And since 2014, I've been the chairman of that committee. So that's provided unbelievable opportunities. When you get to work with, the past presidents like Frank Sablone and Dan Munzer and now Lene that continue to provide those opportunities, not only is it a blessing from the company that I work with, but for them to continue to allow me to participate. The FTA, same way. In the mid-90s, when I was at Webtron, the FTA created what they called at the time was the Flexsys Press Simulator, which was the first PC-based simulator training program. And they based it off one of the Webtron press platforms. So at the time, I was working in a demonstration facility, printing technician. I did all the trials and press demonstrations and sales demonstrations, ran the presses at the shows. So I was the one that, okay, you're the guinea pig. Make this real, make the Q&A accurate. So that started my journey with the FTA. And then before you knew it, Ken, like you said, I was writing white papers. I was sitting in sessions. I was chairing sessions. Then I got to be the chair of the forum. Then I was awarded the President's Award for the FTA, which was wonderful honor. Then I got to be asked to be on the board. Then and then I was senior level at the board. And now here I am, chairman of the board of the FTA. So that took 30 years, right? I mean, but what a journey these associations have provided the opportunity to give back, right? Everything and all these people that I've had the opportunity to learn from, talk to, and build relationships with. Now I get to sit and talk to you guys and share about it. So that's the ultimate reward.
So that kind of leads into our kind of next segment, which I wanted to talk to you about customer success and customer relationships. So how would you define customer success in the context of our industry? Because we're a unique industry here, so it might be a little different than, more transactional type industries. I feel there's some deep-seated relationships here, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the relationships are key, but there's a way that you have to form those relationships, because in our industry and in our process, there's so many variables that you can't have success on your own. You have to have sex through collaboration and relationships, right? And so the opportunities that I've always had is where everybody wins, especially the customer, by understanding their means and understanding their process. In 45 years, guys, I've had the opportunity to travel the globe, and our process is global. We're everywhere. People do things different, but they do it all the same way. There's some vocabulary differences, but we'll overcome those. But what we do is a global process, and you can learn a lot and bring a lot to the table to come back with to share with people to bring success. But I've had the opportunity, like I said, to work with Webtron, Nilpeter, Harper, some of the leading global brands. And with that comes a lot of responsibility too. But so that being that they're leading brands, my cadence and my process was always, I got to have a good product, and I got to be able to support it well with great service. And then I got to be reliable. If I give somebody a good product and good service and I'm reliable, they know they can call me at night. They know they can call me on Sunday morning because they run all the time. Then you know what? When I can prove those three things, then I've built a wonderful relationship. So a good product with good service, and I'm reliable, always there when they need me, develops a great relationship. And talking about premium brands, nowhere there did I mention price, right? If you can deliver those four key variables of a great product with great service, and you're always reliable, you're going to be there because they're going to have issues. You got to be there. You got to be there when they need you. You're going to develop a great relationship with those people. And at that point, price is not so much a negotiation point anymore, because they know what they're getting for and the value that they're going to receive. So those types of relationships have carried me over from brand to brand to brand to brand. Because once you develop those and they know you're reliable, you're going to be there for them. It doesn't matter what you sell or what industry you're in. They just know that you're going to be the person that they can rely on. And that turns into a win-win for everybody.
A question in terms of, I think you almost said 4 decades. How has technology played in changing what the expectation of the customer is? Like, I think historically, especially within this space and in a lot of spaces, a sales rep would do road calls, right? Like they'd go knock on doors, and they might have a trip that they go through and they visit clients. Have you seen a change there? Do you see a change where that relationship is different? Like, we're a lot of conversation about technology and AI. Like, what is the role that marketing is playing versus, I don't want to say old school salesmanship, but like
you can say it. But
yeah.
But I mean, I remember Ken going into people's facilities, single rooftops, entrepreneurs, their dogs laying on the floor, in their office. You talk, you go to lunch. I mean, it was very one-to-one handshake agreements. I mean, it was very traditional, you might say. Then, things started to migrate a little bit, especially through the M&A phase. A lot of names and faces, decision makers, stakeholders started to change. Instead of visiting 10 companies in a week, I'd go visit one that had 10 companies. But you're dealing with different people in a different process. So it's changed quite a bit. And then, COVID threw it for another loop. People were very guarded of how many people they let in their plant to expose to their people. The purchasing and just procurement and lead times, and just so many things came into play that, we came into this digital space. And then again, the generational change in human resources that grew up with their thumbs, they'd rather text or email or Snapchat, or they'd rather do something different to communicate than have to deal with somebody face to face. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean, that's just the world that we've evolved to. So there are still a lot of people that do the face-to-face, the cold calling, to do things, but it's a different world now, and you have to represent yourself in a different way. But back when I was, really launching my career, I didn't have LinkedIn, I didn't have social media, I didn't have this digital communication path that we have now, and all these channels and avenues that we can exploit. So I've learned along the way as well. But that generation, that's what they grew up with. So that's what they're accustomed to now. So you just got to learn to adapt and continue to move forward. And before you know it, you're doing your first podcast. So, who knows what the world leads to. So it's, you just got to keep moving, right? You got to keep moving.
I mean, that's great advice. And I think one of the, within my business, we talk a lot about scaling intimacy, right? Because the reality is that individuals still want to have relationships with individuals, but the barrier to entry to have that relationship is higher. So you need to be able to have more scaled activities, and that's where implementing good systems and processes play a big role, because you just have to manage more relationships from at a surface level, so that you can get that second tier, third tier relationship that everybody succeeds at. Because I think all in all, people still want to have personal relationships, but people are just expected to do so much more now than their position, especially at a managerial or director level. Like, they just have a lot of responsibility, so they're trying to protect their time. So you have to find ways to make those connections much more meaningful. People have less time to just go grab lunch, right?
And like you said, people reduced with time because it's, again, everybody talks about the workforce challenge, and it's just people are asked to do more with with less, right? And that's the world we live in too. And people just don't have the time for that anymore. And it's a good thing and a bad thing. So it makes you're forced to become more efficient, but you're also passing by some opportunities that create relationships or stronger builds. And like I said, we're at one point, I could walk in and deal with a stakeholder directly. Now, usually I hit a gatekeeper 2 or 3 deep before I get there. And that's just the way it is now. You have to learn to navigate those waters a little bit differently, but still, and then to be honest with you, with the workforce challenge, people 3 or 4 years, they're at a job and they move on. It's not very often you see people, I've been here 20 years, I've been here 30 years, I've been here. That's going to get less and less likely now. And we just need to continue to adapt and use the tools that are at our disposal.
Yep.
I'm at year 20. Are you saying I need to move on then?
Hey, I didn't say that. I know who you work for.
Yeah, this is true. Good stuff. You talked about price not being an issue, and you gave kind of the pillars of, the foundational aspects of relationship building and selling. What are some common mistakes you think companies are making in this industry? Is it focusing too much on price, or is it other things?
A lot of times, obviously price and margin are important. Everybody's in business to make money, right? But in our side of the industry, like I mentioned earlier, there's so many variables in what we do. As an analog scroll provider, I'm not going to solve everybody's problem with an analog scroll. I have to work with tape, ink, plate suppliers, press manufacturers, blade, dock. There's a lot of variables in play that are going to allow us to be successful. So that being said, as a supplier, or more importantly, as a solution provider, I need to be aware of all those variables, and most importantly, I need to be aware of what the customer's conditions and atmosphere and environment is. Like I said, in 45 years, I've never been in 2 plants that do things the same way. Everywhere I go, that all those variables, there's 5 million ways to set up all those variables. So I don't, this particular customer might be running UV ink, that might be solvent. This one's a completely different plate supply. There's so many variables, and that's where you have to really have a deep understanding of what the customer's product mix is. What are they? Flexible packaging? Are they carton? Or are they corrugated? What are we dealing with here? And let's see how my variable fits in with the rest, and let's bring this whole circle together so we can make the most success for the customer. So the people that really don't grasp that, don't understand that, are the ones that are always fighting over price and margin. And, it's not a race to the bottom with us. Again, I've learned this from years and years of working with some very intelligent people, much more smarter than I am, on how to provide a value offering at a top tier price. Trust me, the brands that I work with are not the cheapest in the industry, but they're the biggest brands for a reason. Because of the value that they bring to the table and the experience and wisdom that they can bring to share with everybody's environment, not just certain niches. If you want to race to the bottom on price, I'm probably not your guy to talk to. If you want to get to the top and rise to the top and a collective strategy and a prepared plan, let's sit down and have a conversation on how we can identify your needs and bring all these variables together to get you there. So just that not really knowing the customer's key objectives and how they need to get there, that's a big mistake they make. They want the quick hit. Quick hit doesn't win.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely within this space too, like if your customer's successful, you will have more revenue, right? Like it's not like you just have a one-time sale. And I've heard this multiple times that, from different organizations I'm not really like, I don't need to make money off my first sale with you. It's the second, third, fourth, fifth, right? Like I just want to establish a good relationship with you and help you be successful, because as your volume goes up, if I'm there, my volume goes up. So
exactly,
it drives so much of that relationship of making sure that everyone's winning, because getting one sale that doesn't actually help them, it doesn't actually help anybody. So it's
and that's the whole ticket, Ken. You get in there, you get that first win, you prove yourself, and then you have a great product and you support it really well with good service, and then you're reliable, right? Now you develop that relationship, right? But that relationship and building that long-term success, that's got to go through the lulls too. When they're up and running good and they're running good, and and you haven't heard from them 6 months, you need to call them up, see how they're doing. Stay in contact with them in the times that they're stabilized too, not just the times that they're experience growth patterns or stuff like that. Those are great times to be there for them, but you got to be there for them all the time. And so keeping that communication open, keeping just that, it's just relationship building, right? Don't just call me when I need something. Call me when I don't need something, and that's a big part of it. That builds that relationship and builds that trust.
You mentioned your family and your father. Anybody else that you'd classify as a mentor for you? Someone that kind of taught you quite a bit, helped you grow in this industry, and anyone else you want to shout out?
How long do you say we have? I mean, first and foremost, I'm always going to go back to my father. I mean, I'll never forget one of the biggest life-changing moments, you might say, came from my father. And I was apprentice on an offset press, and I was running simple 2 and 3 color stuff. And he walked by the press one day and he picked up a sheet, and it was I don't know, you guys are not familiar with offset, but the register marks were always in your artwork. Then you had to take an etch pen, you had to get them off the metal plate, and he walked by and it wasn't perfect and it wasn't even tight registered, but he looked at the marks and he goes, "What's this?" And I said, it's good enough. And he looked at me and he said, "Let me tell you something, son." He said, "If you think good enough is good enough, you're never going to overachieve at anything." And he just threw the sheet down and walked away. And I went, "Oh my God." That was like, oh, I think I just, took myself down a notch with my dad, and after that conversation, guys, my motto in life was don't ever be good enough. If you're going to do something, you either do it the absolute best you can do it and keep moving forward with that, or don't do it at all. And I've lived by that motto. So first and foremost, I was 17, 18 years old. But the fact that I thought that I disappointed my father was the best life lesson I ever had, because from that day forward, I've never done anything good enough. I've always, at least, for me, I've always tried. I got to exceed that. Good enough ain't good enough. And that's what I teach my kids as well. But Richard Prizer, from the gentleman that took me in at Webtron, when, my father's friend, who then started Executive Label, which is still a thriving company in South Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, where my sister continues to work. All right. So, still a family-run single rooftop, very successful label business. On the industry side of it, John Little, the former president of Webtron, watching somebody as the president of the company take his tie off, roll up his sleeves, and walk around the shop floor to say hello to everybody when he was in town. As a young guy growing up, I'm like, that's pretty cool, man. The president just came up and acknowledged me. I didn't know him from Adam. How's he even know me? But he knew everybody's name. And then you develop a relationship with him. Andy Coletta, that was the vice president of sales at Webtron, and then went on to be the president of Rotoflex, which ultimately turned into Nilpeter USA, right? After they absorbed Rotoflex, Rotopress into their pipeline. So, I'll never forget that when I first came to Harper, and Harper was having a sales meeting. They were having a global sales meeting. And they were like, Paul, you think you can get somebody to, maybe be a keynote speaker at our sales meeting? And I called up Andy Coletta and I said, Andy, I said, I got a big favor to ask. And I said, we're having a sales meeting down here in Charlotte, and, and they're asking if I can find a keynote speaker. And he said, Paul, stop. He goes, tell me what day and what time to be there, and I'll be there. And I'll be darned if Andy Coletta didn't come down and just blah all over our sales team. And I don't know how well you guys know Andy Coletta, but at one time, I mean, he was, one of the Elvis Presleys of our industry in his heyday. So having the opportunity to be exposed to leaders like that, to see how they treated people like that when I was a nobody at the time. I mean, Dave McDowell, John McDowell's father. The first year I took over the chairmanship of the TLMI Awards, he was the outgoing chairman of the board of the TLMI. And I always knew, Dave McDowell is this bigger than a life individual of McDowell Label, this little label company in Texas who the whole world knows, right? And I'm like, I got to go to a board meeting once to talk about my committee. And at the end of the meeting, and at the end, and that was a time when this room is full of entrepreneurs, right? All business owners that we all know at the time when they were still rooftop owners. And Dave McDowell said, Paul, he goes, you did a great job. He built me up in front of all these people. And I was like, I already looked up to this guy like, that's Dave McDowell. I got to give a presentation in front of Dave McDowell and the TLMI board. And when I was done sharing where we were at and how we did, he said, he built you up, And I walked out of there like, man, Dave McDowell just made me look like a hero in front of the TLMI board. And you know what? My career took steps after that. So people like that, I mean, look at his company, that little label business in Texas that the world knows, right? John McDowell was carrying on that tradition and that legacy that his father built. Because, at this year's FTA, and I'm going to toot a little bit here, but John McDowell came up and he was shaking my hand. He was hugging me in front of the Harper people. And he said, I'd go to the end of the world for this guy. He goes, if he called me from, Kuala Lumpur and said, I'm in trouble, he goes, I'd be on the next airplane. And he did this. He was doing the same thing his father did. He was building champions. He was building people. And when I go to McDowell's plant, I see the same thing what he does there. So when you have the opportunity to be surrounded by these types of people for 40 years, I mean, I can say I've been nothing but blessed. And now the opportunity to, quite honest with you, Randy and Ken, to share this kind of stuff with you guys is, this is like cherry on top. So thanks for having me.
Those were awesome stories, man. We could go on for hours. We're definitely going to have to bring you back on. So that's just a sidebar there. You touched on the hiring challenges within, I mean, it's not exclusive to the printing industry, right? But are there things you guys are doing at Harper or have implemented there to kind of help with this issue? And then second on that, are there other things you'd recommend just in the wider industry for tackling that hiring problem?
Yeah, I mean, on the Harper side of it, there's a legacy here of promoting education. Mr. and Mrs. Harper years ago, Mrs. Harper was on the North Carolina legislative state for workforce development for the state back in the early 90s. So the Harper family has been entrenched in promoting our industry, flexography in general, to the masses, both at the high school, secondary, and college levels. Now supporting over 30 of those institutions with promotion exercises. We have a consortium room down at Clemson. The Harper family has really put themselves out there. And 25 years ago, the Harper family gave the initial endowment to Betty Lynn to start the Phoenix Challenge, which is the high school and college program. So they were instrumental in that. I mean, not many people know, but Betty Lynn was a customer service representative here at Harper before she started the Phoenix Challenge. So she had great mentors, which had supported her and got her going. And look where she's gone and taken this. She's probably over 1,000 students now within our industry have gone through the Phoenix Challenge, including my son. All right. So yes, have we been close to it and have we watched it grow? But having the opportunity to, again, work at Harper, who's been so entrenched at the educational level and supporting associations like the FTA and the TLMI, the original $1 million endowment to start the test program for FIRST at the FTA came from the Harpers. So they have continually given back to the industry at the educational level, which, my son has benefited from not only through the Phoenix Challenge, but through the first FTA scholarship award when he was in college going through graphic communication. But it's been quite a wonderful opportunity to be involved in that because the last 15 years I've been involved with the Phoenix Challenge High School competition, directly involved as a judge, as a mentor, and that's really created great opportunity for us. But it's been quite a wonderful experience to stay engaged with the youth. And on the industry side, all I would say is and recommend that get involved with your local programs, get involved with career days, go speak at the high school levels, because what we strive for in our industry is production people. There's a lot of graphic communication people that want to do graphic design, and we've got that a lot of that's going to be done AI in the future too. But we need people running the presses still, as automated as they're going to be, and we want them to run in the dark, which is all great. But you're still going to need some human interaction there. And but I would say for the industry itself, and I think we're seeing more of this, companies need to get out there and get involved in their local communities in these career days. Know them, let these young students know at the high school and secondary levels that we work in a very sophisticated, clean hand, highly evolved, technology-driven industry that you would be amazed at the career paths that you could have going into it. And the more that we can get out there and share that this isn't grandpa's printing anymore, these are space shuttles compared to what we had, and that's what I share at the Phoenix Challenge High School. I said, what presses you're running now are the go-karts. Those are the Formula One cars over here. We can get you there, but we have to get them exposed so they can see that opportunity.
Anything to add there, Ken? I had one comment I wanted to
No, I think a lot of what he mentioned, it's spot on. And the question would be FTA, Phoenix Challenge, like those organizations, you see them driving new people into, like, where does the responsibility fall from an association standpoint to help companies drive new, talent into the industry, or what are they doing?
Well, very fortunate that the Phoenix Challenge is supported both by the TLMI and the FTA as others in their programs through, the FTA. They provide the level 1 first certifications when the high school kids come out to continue to promote it and give them a certificate to start their career, so that gives them a platform to be recognized. So anybody that can get involved with the Phoenix Challenge in both supporting them, donating goods or, paper, plates, inks, press time, all those things, it's a nonprofit to help us build our own workforce. So get out there and do it. So, but the FTA and the TLMI both give the Phoenix Challenge and others a good platform to be exposed to the industry that needs those resources. So they all have to work hand in hand. And I think that exposure continues to grow, and the Phoenix Challenge continues to grow with it. But the association support is fundamental to having, for the marketing resources, that's getting the word out, providing the opportunities and the offerings like the certifications or things like that. And then the associations themselves building, the label leaders of tomorrow, the LIFT program with the FTA. Those are all building young leaders within our industry to be tomorrow's leaders, and quite frankly, tomorrow's board representatives, tomorrow's speakers, that we want these young people to be at the next forum up on stage, not sitting in the audience. We want them to be candidates to be asked to be on a board or be on committees, engage, participate. And the more they do that, the more rewards they're going to get for it.
Yeah, I did want to just add something what you had mentioned before, getting out in the community, wherever it is your business is, and educating at the high school and college level, because I think people don't get it. They don't know the kind of career path that's available within the printing industry. They have these preconceived ideas, but getting out there and educating is so crucial and so important because people don't know.
Yeah, and Randy, you've seen the research and the market data. I mean, we're approaching $1 trillion global packaging industry. We got jobs, and we're global. You learn today, go anywhere you want in the world, and you're going to be able to apply those skills. But like I said, it's a matter of, I think we're one of the largest industries that everybody deals with every day of their life. I'm sorry to say it, but when you put your garbage out at the end of the day, what's that bag full of? Packaging. I hate this. I know we're trying to get better at it when that's a whole other subject of sustainability and doing the right things. But it's such a wonderful opportunity out there and such a large industry that so little people know about. And, we're not in the limelight, you might say. We have to get out there and do our work. We've got to get out there at the grassroots. The people in the industry we need to get out there and make this change. We need to make this happen. And we have the programs to facilitate it, but we got to get them engaged at the early level so they can see and realize what a wonderful career you could have in so many different directions, from production to marketing to sales to production management to, supplier side, printer side, and where do you want to go? The choices are yours. But we've got to get these young people engaged and aware of what a wonderful industry we're in, and how many choices they could have in such a wonderful career.
Well, I think telling stories like you're telling right now is kind of, it's one of the first steps, right? Like, we need people to hear the stories, and me and Randy, like, we've built a relationship that because of this space that, I often tell people, like, we just came back from the FTA, and I'm like, I don't want to say hanging out, but I've been, building relationships with those people for a decade all over the world, and having great experiences, learning stuff, being productive, and building a career. And it's been awesome. I mean, I don't know, like, it's just really been a blessing. And we just got to tell people and encourage them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's been an amazing journey, and the journey's not over. There's still a long ways to go. Still a huge opportunity.
So hopefully as many people as possible can listen to this episode, and then everybody's happy. So we'll end with some rapid fire stuff here, Paul, that we do for all our guests. We haven't talked a ton about branding, and we'll get to that in a second. But first off, if you weren't in this industry, what do you think you'd be doing?
I have no idea. Like I said, I was kind of born into it. It's in my blood. I love it. I love the people, the relationships. I love everything about it. I started when I was literally 16 years old. Guys, I don't know. There was never any venture other than this one, right? I was like, well, I would have loved to do that, but I'm doing this. I've never done anything but what I'm doing in this industry, and growing with it, and meeting wonderful people. So to be honest with you, that's a tough question. What else would I be doing? What else would I want to do?
Sure.
Or what else? But this was my path, chosen at birth. And, I've enjoyed every minute of it. I don't think I would change a bit of it. It's been unbelievably rewarding for me professionally, but it's what I do. It's not who I am. Who I am is a beautiful wife and 3 wonderful children, and this industry has provided me the opportunity to have that family and provide for them, and be blessed to be a part of it. So this is what I do, is who I am, and I'm going to keep doing it. I wouldn't do nothing else.
Awesome. Title of the podcast is Unpacking the Brand. So what is your favorite brand?
My favorite brand to unpack? Be Titleist, right? So if it's golf balls, if it's new shoes or new shirt, pair of shorts, maybe some fresh socks. So yeah, Titleist is probably the biggest brand in my portfolio of purchases. So and my wife will verify that. So
and your checking account and everything else, yeah.
yeah, that's I should own some stock in that company.
What about your least favorite brand?
my least favorite brand, that would probably be Top Flight, because that'd be the ball that's coming at you. That's the ball coming in you from the golf.com or from the other fairway, the guys that are yelling for. That's you don't want to see a Top Flight coming your way. So I'd probably say no rock flights in my future.
Love it. Any business books or other books you've read recently that you could recommend to others or people listening?
Wow, man, everything I learned from business is from labels and labeling. So I don't know.
Well, Mike Fairley's got some great encyclopedias. I mean,
now, you know what? I mean, in these times, to be quite honest with you guys, most of my reading is done online or on blogs or some of the social stuff, listening to Adam Peake, or I try to get non-biased news through links like 1440, or I try to stay away from a lot of the nonsense and a lot of the noise and try to get to the grassroots of things. But yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, in the world I live in, these are everywhere in my office. They're labels and labeling, Flexo, converting quarterly. Just those are what I read. I love the white papers. I love reading the new technologies that the people get to write about. I still get to do some of this stuff, so I'm still embedded in what I do. If I'm reading something, it's usually a blog, a magazine, or an online article, or some geopolitical, geoeconomic news on 1440, or that keeps you up to date on stocks and current events and world events and stuff like that. But it's been a while since I picked up a hard book.
Future episodes of Unpacking the Brand on your next flight, perhaps. Yeah, who knows, right?
Yeah, see, there's a lot more options nowadays than when I was young. So, but there's still a lot of great reading out there. It's just delivered in a different way.
Mm-hmm. All right, and to end, we know you're a golf aficionado, diehard golf fan. Team Bryson or Team Rory?
That's a tough one for me. Right. So, well, number one, I'll start out by saying that I really don't like that the tours are split. I would much rather I would love to see Rory and Brandon and them going week to week. All right. That would really tell us a lot more than what we currently see. Bryson or Bryson DeChambeau, I love Bryson's demeanor because he just out there to have a good time. And last year's win, he just had the crowd in his hand. Coming into this year, I think he gained a lot of new fans, and it's fun to watch. I like that about golf. I love watching somebody that can go out and just win and have a great time doing it. And his YouTube channel and bring new fans to the table. I love that about him. Rory, I love his golf game. I think he's got the best swing in golf. I think his Master win was awesome. Grand Slam, spectacular. Coming off such a high with a Masters win and then going to the PGA this week and refusing to do any interviews, major turnoff for Rory. Didn't see that coming, didn't like it, grow up. I know he'll never see this, but, come on, Rory, do better, right? You just won the Masters and closed out the Grand Slam, and you can't do an interview because you had a couple bad rounds. Bryson, I've never seen Bryson turn down an interview. Trust me, he's blown up a couple times, but he's never walked away from the mic. So I kind of love them both, but there's both love and dislike on some things. But I'm going to say it's a toss-up.
Yeah,
I know that's probably more of an answer than you wanted, but you said you brought up golf, and that's my favorite conversation. So
that's fine, and that could lead to a whole different podcast or path, and that's kind of dealing with adversity. And you need as a professional athlete, you face the music whether you had the best game of your career or the worst game of your career. It doesn't matter, and that bothers me too when people walk away or NBA player goes 0 for 10 for 3 and he can't talk to the media afterwards.
It ties into everything that we just talked about too, right? That's how we have to conduct ourselves. If something doesn't go bad, you don't walk away. That's where the relationship goes sour. Maybe that's where mine and Rory's is going sour, right? But in our world, that's what we do. We're going to have to overcome challenges. We're going to have to persevere through those peaks and valleys, right? And those soft falls. And but how you come out of those and how you represent yourself, is how you survive. And
what you do when things aren't going well says a lot more about you than when things are going well, right? And
yeah, one more quick story I'll tell you. There was my relationship with John McDowell flourished from a mistake that I made. I did something. I was involved in a project that involved some stuff that was going on at McDowell for brand owners and stuff like that, and I was involved. So I was exposed to a lot of people and a lot of content, right? And coming out of that experience, I had an opportunity to write a white paper on this particular process and application. And then it got published, right? So somebody called me and said, hey, John McDowell is going to be giving you a call about your article. And I'm like, oh, I haven't really met him face to face. This is 20 something years ago. I haven't met him face to face. So hey, maybe he's going to, tell me what a great job I did. Well, yeah, little did I know that I kind of stepped on my toes in that article, and I said some stuff brand management wise that wasn't released yet or wasn't out there. And my first experience with John McDowell on the phone was not pretty. That's all I'm going to tell you. But what I take away from that, and I think even John, who's now become one of my closest friends in the industry and personally, right? He talks about it now. He goes, you know what? When I called Paul, I went up one side of him and down the other. He goes, I couldn't believe what he had done, what he had shared, and he put it in print. And I was, this is 20 something years ago. I was young too. I was like your age. I was still learning. Right. So I went through quite an experience there, but he said, but by the time I got off that call, he was, because I shared with him what my intent was, why I was doing it. I was trying to educate. I was trying to promote. I was trying to share. My intentions were good. And he said, by the time I got off that call with Paul, he goes, I was like, well, don't do it again. It was like, he goes, my demeanor was completely different. He goes, instead of going, he goes, I almost felt bad for going up one side and down the other. And he shares that story now too. But it just shows you that sometimes your biggest and strongest and most rewarding relationships can be built from adversity. It's how you manage them and come out of them and move forward with them. It's not, I could have just said, hey, and hung up the phone. I ain't taking that from nobody. But that's not how you manage it. Sometimes when you stumble, you get up, you brush yourself off, and you stand up, you go face to face and say, yep, I stumbled. What do I got to do? Let's make this right and keep moving. And I'm glad to say that John and I have become extremely, extremely good friends. And that's just another one of many relationships that I've probably built out of stumbling. And it's been very rewarding.
Good advice.
Yeah, Paul, you've been an awesome guest. We appreciate your time. Love the stories, love your experience and passion for the industry. And I think it'd be great to have you on again in the future.
I'd love to. I'll be able to do my second podcast.
Excellent. Thanks again, Paul.
Well, thank you guys for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Did you, we wouldn't be doing a service if anything you want to plug from Harper right now?
Well, that's true. Another educational event on June 26th of next month, we are having another Harper Roadshow, which we usually do 3 or 4 a year, Harper Roadshows. It's going to be held in Philadelphia at ImageWorks, at their facility there, where they have probably one of the most sophisticated pre-press shops in the country. They do a lot of high-end, high-graphic work there that for the security industry and the banknote industry. They do some really interesting stuff there. But they also have live equipment there that we're going to be doing a road show with Alphasonics, Troika, Eco 3, Synjet inks on a complete educational day. And not only will you hear the speakers, but you'll see all those products run live on press as well. So we're really looking forward to that Harper Roadshow on June 26th at ImageWorks in Philadelphia. And you should be seeing it everywhere online to register and get a link to sign up and be there. So thank you for the opportunity to promote that, because those events usually are very rewarding for everybody.
Thanks so much for joining us on Unpacking the Brand. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation. And if you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you have a moment, We'd love it if you could share this podcast with your network or leave us a review. It really helps us reach more people who are passionate about business, branding, and innovation.